Hey everybody, today I am going to be reviewing Roadhouse. This was directed by Doug Liman. There was no way I was going to miss this movie just because the biased UFC fan in me just couldn't help but be curious. For people who watch me regularly, people who follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, you know I am a massive UFC fan, a massive MMA fan. So when the opportunity arises where I get to incorporate it into one of my videos, oh, you bet your ass I'm gonna do it. I've been reviewing a lot of like heavy art house movies lately, so I wanted just like a balls to the wall action movie to prepare me for the summertime. But if you were going to remake a 1980s classic and it's starring Jake Gyllenhaal and it's Conor McGregor in his screen debut, to me that kind of prowess demands a big theatrical release in the grand Hollywood blockbuster tradition. And I know there were a lot of issues there, but when we did find out that this was just going to be a direct-to-streaming sort of situation, you know, that was really disappointing. I think it kind of sucked the life out of it. But at the same time, I think a lot of why people love the original Roadhouse is because they found it on TV. You know, it's the kind of movie you want to watch. It's like a TBS type of movie. If you are coming home drunk from the bar at like 2 a.m. and you just plop on the couch and you turn on syndicated cable and it's like, hey, Roadhouse is on. Yeah, that's the kind of energy it has. It's using something familiar, you know, like The Last Samurai, Magnificent Seven, Western style tropes, but you know, it has a cheekiness to it at the same time. Patrick Swayze, who played the protagonist in the original, Dalton, he had more of like a zen type of elegance to his movements, to his physicality. Whereas you look at Gyllenhaal and he's more like brute strength, he's more gritty, and that kind of fits along with the style of the movie they're going for. And when I first heard that Gyllenhaal was going to be playing this role, I thought, oh, that's a fantastic choice. First of all, I think that Gyllenhaal is an incredibly versatile actor. He's the type of person where, you know, he can effortlessly cross over from art house movies and Broadway, that type of thing, to, yes, accessible mainstream blockbuster movies. I think he's always found the perfect balance between being kind of, you know, gentle, having a softness to him, an earnestness to him, but also a masculine charisma. And Swayze has that too. They both have that boyish earnestness, and it's very appealing, that friendly twinkle in the blue eyes. Quite honestly, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but there was actually a lot of it that I enjoyed. I think it's a mixed bag. It feels very trial and error. Some things really land, some things don't. I was actually surprised by how much I enjoyed the first half of the movie. It took its time to kind of build the characters properly and build the environment. For the most part, I think you believe in the world, and at least I wanted to be a part of it. It gives me that sense of like, yes, summer is coming, the palm trees. I can practically taste the salt rim and the tequila. This movie feels like, you know, walking barefoot on a boardwalk, but just be careful, don't step on the broken beer bottles. I think this one really kept the spirit of the original, so far as the humor is concerned, while, you know, keeping it in the modern era at the same time. And the aesthetic is very art house A24 meets Miami Vice meets like some mid-2000s action movie. But thankfully all the shaky cam type of stuff that was really popular in the 2000s as a gimmick in action movies, that is staying in the mid-2000s where it belongs. Obviously, Doug Liman is no stranger to making an action film, especially those types of action movies with like The Bourne Supremacy as an example. But I like that in a lot of the fight sequences, he kept it more tight and focused in the camera. It kind of has this tension to it with the movement. And there are some funny lines in the movie. I actually laughed out loud a few times. I found myself enjoying certain characters. But my problem with the movie is that once we get into the second half of the movie, I feel like we just really lose our way tonally. And it just feels like we put a wrench in this well-oiled machine. I felt like it was chugging along just fine, and then Conor McGregor had to show up and, you know, look, it's not a good performance, but he's not an actor. So in a way, I almost don't blame him so much. I mean, yes, I do, obviously, to a degree, but it's like I more blame the writing and the fact that they didn't utilize his energy properly. But frankly, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Here's the thing about Conor McGregor. I sound like Strickland. Here's the thing about Conor McGregor. He has a very complicated type of energy. It's the kind of energy where he cannot hide behind it when it's false. That is why he was so compelling as a UFC fighter, and why I think he's one of the most compelling sports figures of all time. It's because when he played the villain role in the UFC, it was very real. He believed in that charisma. He believed he was the best. He believed he was going to come into the UFC and just take everything from everyone. And I don't think he's believed in himself truly in a long time. And I guess my point with all of that is to say that yeah, like he's not a person who's capable of acting. Once he gets caught up in the ego and the fame, he starts to project that same type of confidence, but nobody is buying into it. We're all just kind of looking at the downward spiral at that point. Ever since he snapped that leg, it's like he has been serving us Tony Montana, third act of Scarface type of energy. And again, that is a lot to deal with on screen, which is a real shame because if he were a good actor, let's just pretend he were a good actor, I could see great potential. He has always reminded me of James Cagney so far as his physicality. I have no idea if anybody else thinks that. I've never heard that comparison. Maybe it's the Irish thing, but there's just something about the humor to James Cagney, that kind of twitchy kind of feeling to him that, yeah, Connor has that in spades. But again, all of that is very forced because Connor is too self-aware, and I don't believe in that confidence here. Here he looks like a sunburnt orangutan, and that plastered grin that he has on his face a lot of the movie, it's more strange than menacing, and I would say it's more uncomfortable than fun. When you look at somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator, it works because he's playing a robot. So it's like naturally it's going to be a wooden performance, but you literally in Terminator 2 have the kid and he's teaching the action figure, the live action figure catchphrases. So it's absolutely perfect. Thankfully in Roadhouse, the remake, they're using a lot of villains around Conor McGregor, so we're not relying just on that particular presence. And I actually didn't hate the villains here. They were kind of fun. But man, I think the thing that really hurt me the most about this movie is the way the action scenes evolve into the second half of the movie, because the action scenes were fairly solid in the first half. The slap fight that introduces the movie was fun, it was exciting, sets a really good tone for everything, and the fact that he's slapping them instead of punching them, it adds just a little subversion that's, yeah, again, amusing and you remember it. But by the end of this movie, we are putting all of our eggs in the CGI basket, and I always say, never, never do that, because this is what you get. And I'm usually one that can kind of look past bad special effects in certain instances, like, you know, Ferrari as an example. The CGI in that is very bad, but it was only one shot of a car crash. The rest of the movie is all about the drama and the interpersonal relationships, whereas Roadhouse is an action movie, and so like that should be the selling point. It should be the action, and this is just, it is not serving. And to me, that is just unacceptable. I think at this point, if you haven't learned, CGI does not work when it's just CGI. Most of the time, it's like you have to combine CGI with something practical in order for it to really feel tangible. So I say either do that, combine them, or just scrap the CGI entirely and just keep it more about the stunts, the physical fight sequences. Let me see the blood and let me see the sweat. I think a great fight scene that just takes place in a room between two people can be so much more exciting than tons of explosions and car chases and that sort of thing. Somebody like Conor McGregor deserved better. I mean, this is his thing. I want to see more of him fighting and less talking. And I have to say about Gyllenhaal too, while I really liked him in the movie, once Conor McGregor comes into the movie and things are just ramped up to 11 from then on, that's the point where the character has to be, or, you know, Gyllenhaal's character has to be pushed to the edge, where it's like we really sense his anger coming out. And I'm not sure if I always bought into it. And I think that just might be something that Gyllenhaal struggles with. I mean, we saw him in that mock UFC fight that they shot during real UFC 285. I don't think anybody bought into that. That's what kept things from really pushing forward, I think, for his character, not finding the menace like within that earnestness that he has. It's like, I think he kind of knows that he can't do that very convincingly, so it's like he relied heavily on the snark, the sarcasm. At times it lands, but in other ways I felt like, no, I wanted more from the character. So yeah, up to a point, I really enjoyed this. I thought it was solid, I thought it was fun, and then the bull in the china shop just kind of ruins everything, and we don't know how to pick up the pieces. And again, I just wish somebody who really understood Conor McGregor could capitalize on that energy properly in a movie. I do think it's possible, it's just very tough, and the rest of the movie should meet him there and not get completely smothered. So with all of that said, even though, yes, the idea of this being a big theatrical release is great in theory, at the same time, because the action sequences are such a letdown, I think a streaming option is not that bad. In fact, I would probably rather watch it on streaming. I don't think this is worth going to the theater to see. So yes, I am recommending it, but just, you know, with a little bit of hesitance there. I think it's going to be good just if you stream it one night with your buddies. Don't expect to be knocked over by it. Enjoy it for what it is. It's fine and fun and a little confused. But that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commissioned portraits, and I also sell prints of my work. If that is something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below, and if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are great. Guys, thank you so much for your support. Welcome to all the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.